What's going on, campers? Patrick with Uncle Bill's Camping out here in the beautiful Shelby Forest State Park just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, finishing up some group camping at one of the primitive sites. And I gotta say, if you ever get a chance to come out here, you definitely should. You're gonna need to bring your own water, electricity if you need it. You will get mud on your tires, but you will not regret it. These sites are huge, plenty of space, all the peace and quiet you could ever want. Definitely worth it. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. What we are going to talk about are tents, mainly 3-season tents. One of the questions I get all the time is, what type of tent do I need? And that's a hard question to answer. And I see this a lot also in the camping gear subreddit. Somebody will ask a question like, my spouse and I are going camping. I have X amount of kids or X amount of dogs. What type of tent should I get? And usually turns into a battle royale in the comment section because everybody has their own version of camping. Therefore, they're going to give you different advice. And I figure maybe the best way to answer this question is to show you some of the different types of tents that are out there so you can make a decision for yourself. I'm not really going to talk about brands. I'm not going to push that. That's not my thing. I don't care whether you shop at REI or Walmart. You know, you do your own thing. Whatever works for you works for you. I'm not going to judge. It's not my place or my business. Only thing I want to help you do is get outside and enjoy the outdoors. But with all that being said, I'm going to get myself cleaned up and we'll go ahead, take a look inside of some of these tents, and I'll show you some of the pros and cons about each one of them. And that way maybe you can make a better decision for yourself as to what's going to work best for yourself and your family. All right, so first off, we're going to talk about the standard dome tent. And standard dome tent's been around for, well, forever, right outside of the A-frame tent. But the main thing about this, and the main advantage of this, is the way that the poles cross each other and its shape. It does really well in the wind. It may lean a little bit, but you're generally not going to have any problems out of this in rain or wind. Another advantage of these is, even though it's a 3-season tent, most of the time on a dome tent, the rain fly does come down fairly far, so you're going to have good protection from the rain and still be able to keep your windows open. And if the inside is mesh, well, then you're going to have good coverage. Now we'll go inside, take a look around. Now this is a 6-man tent. As you can see, that's going to have to be 6 fairly small people. A good rule of thumb is always cut the number in half. If it says it'll sleep 6, then it's a 3-man tent. That's just the best way to handle it. Now, there are some disadvantages to a tent like this, just like any other, and you're looking at it right now. Your center height, which is about enough room for one person to stand, is going to be the tallest area in the tent. So you're not going to have a lot of room on the sides to stand up. That means if you need something like a cot or a really high air mattress because you have trouble getting up or down, you're going to have to be really right there into the center or right, left or right of center. So if you try and put 3 people in there with cots or a tall air mattress, it's going to be really hard for a couple of people to stand up, get dressed, get moving around. And that is the main disadvantage, I think, to all your basic dome tents, unless they are really, really tall, is the fact that the height drops off severely on the sides. All right, so right now we're talking about the modified dome tent. And this is probably one of the most common tents you're going to see at campgrounds, as it's been around for a really long time. Now this one happens to be the Coleman Red Canyon, but that really doesn't matter, as most modified domes have really good ratings on Amazon. And the reason being is it's a good tent if you have a couple of kids or dogs, because it allows you to have all the benefits of a modified dome, which is the resistance to wind, and also have the canopy coverage that you would have, you know, to help keep rain out. It has a good center height, so if you have a couple of adults, you can put a couple of cots or air mattress in there. And then you have the side areas, which are basically the equivalent of vestibules, which you put a couple of dogs or a couple of kids if you have small air mattress or air pads. And as you can see, it does have a pretty good height right here in the center. I'm going to try and pop up there. Let's have a look. Most of them have pretty good ventilation. And your area right in the center has pretty good height altogether. But as I said, the drawback is the sides. It's really only suitable for kids, puppies, and storage. Alright, so next up is my favorite type of tent, and that is the cabin tent. Now the main reason I like this tent is because of the height. There is plenty of room from the floor to the ceiling all the way across, which means that you could fit two air mattresses, two queen size air mattresses in this particular tent. Now this is an 8-man tent, which means basically it's a 4-man tent, but still, if you have a little bit of mobility issues, you have trouble getting around, and you need something like a tall air mattress or some cots, and you still want to be able to utilize all your room, this is probably the way to go. Now, there are some drawbacks to having a tent like this. The first one being is that the rainfly rarely covers all the windows. So if it's raining outside, you are going to have to zip up your windows, which means you're going to have less ventilation on the inside when it's raining. So, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing. And the other thing is this is practically a giant box. So if the wind starts blowing and it's blowing hard enough, this tent can lay over on you. So just a rule of thumb, especially with these tents, really it should be a rule of thumb with all of them, is whenever you're camping, if you know there's going to be a chance of any kind of bad weather, any kind of thunderstorms or heavy winds, always use your guy lines, stake it out, make sure it doesn't go anywhere on you. Now that about wraps it up for the tents. So guys, I just wanted to show you this stuff. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just wanted to take a moment to show you some of the more popular types of tents that are out there. And that way, if you're looking for any information, you know, as far as what you should get for yourself or your family, you know, you got a little bit more to go on after watching this video, or at least I hope. But with that said, my name's Patrick with Uncle Bill's Camping. Thank you for taking the time to check out my video, and I will see you fine people the next time around.